Awesome. Well, hey, appreciate you taking time to chat with me this morning.
No problem.
Perfect. So, first off, how tough is your team at this point in the season? Because from my perspective, it seems like nothing phases you.
Yeah, it I mean they're troopers. I'll never forget going to the Charlotte road course. I was deflated, man. I was gone. I was ready for off season and they knocked it out of the park. They brought a great race car and treated it as if we were leading the points and we were last in the points and allowed us to win that race. And then the exact same thing happened in Martinsville. So I think that just goes to show the never quit attitude and all of my mechanics, my engineers, Adam, the crew chief. And then even as down as I am as a driver, I feel like whenever I put my helmet on, I'm able to get in the mode and put that all behind me.
Okay. And then, kind of following up on that, how do you stay so grounded? Because, I've personally seen you in a bunch of different situations throughout the season, whether it's, after a crash or whatever. And, you're not getting angry, you're not going off about people, you still are just kind of even keeled. Like, how do you manage to achieve that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is just my personality. I'm not a very confrontational guy and I always try and blame myself first. So I don't know, I guess it's just my nature, but sometimes it gets me in trouble for sure. And then other times I think it's an advantage.
Okay. And then kind of following up on that part of this conversation, obviously, like you worked with Chase and Ratcliffe during your first year, and then when you switched to JGR and to Adam Stevens, you won your second race, and then since in this year, you guys have been like statistically the best team at JGR. Is that a product of just like your chemistry with Adam and the rest of your team, or is it just like the hard workers, a combination of everything?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And, I appreciate you asking that because I don't feel like my full story gets to be told very often. And in looking back at the 95 car with Jason Ratcliffe, me and him had great success in the Xfinity series. And I think that we were on track to have great success my rookie year in the 95 car before COVID hit and we lost all of our practice and qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
So not having practice and qualifying just destroyed our season in 2020. And then 2021, it severely hindered it. The difference was we were able to start off on a much higher note in 2021. So we were able to start the races further up front and have better pit stall selection. And we weren't performing great. And that was the difference between 2021 and 2022 was having practice and qualifying. So, with that being said, if we could have had practice and qualifying in 2020, whenever I was in the 95 car, I think it would have been a completely different story.
It seems like it because just even going back and watching a lot of races from that year, just kind of like prepare for different races on this year's schedule. There was definitely times where you were running toe to toe with Danny or Kyle and like a lot of your teammates, even though it was like a smaller team. So it makes sense that you would say that about the lack of practice.
Yeah. And I mean, just like the ability. So Jason knew me and I knew Jason and we knew how to communicate, but the cup car is obviously different. The rules package is different. The setups are different. And not being able to learn what I needed in the car to be successful, and on top of that, to control our destiny with our starting position,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just a really bad storm that hindered our performance severely.
Oh, absolutely. And so, kind of following up on that part, how will it affect you guys this week? Since you've been doing with 20-minute practice sessions all year long, but now you have the extended 50-minute session at a track where you now have some notes with the next gen car. How do you think that'll affect you guys as far as qualifying goes?
Yeah, I think that I don't know. It is interesting because the 20-minute practice sessions, you can't really do a ton of mechanical changes to the car. So I think you have to have at least two tires on the ground at all times. So it's really hard to get underneath the car to make changes. Whereas this 50-minute practice, you can kind of do whatever you want to do. So, I think we've had maybe two or three of them all year long, but not very many for sure. So I know that I got the best pit crew in the business on top of the pit box and making the right calls. So I would think that more practice is more of an advantage for the 20 group.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned the pit crew because last year's championship race in particular, I mean, I'm sure everyone at JGR knows like Martin had it in control, but then that last pit stop, Kyle's team has a better stop. With you guys in particular, I mean, since making those changes, like you said, your pit crew has been just straight up consistent. They don't make mistakes. I mean, how much confidence does that give you heading towards a race where it's probably going to have to worry about the pit stops?
Yeah, I mean they showed up and showed out this week, man. I was tickled to death with the performance at Martinsville, and they're the reasons why we won. If they don't step up to the plate, then we don't win the race. And once we got the lead, I think we still had a number of pit stops where they had to hold serve. And holding serve becomes that means having the best pit stop, because whenever you're coming in first or second, you're competing with the best pit crews on pit road, and they went toe to toe with them and outperformed them, and we were able to win.
Absolutely. And so I want to ask you kind of about like the mental aspect of this because I mean, obviously a lot of the playoff drivers this year, they've had just the constant cameras following them around for like the documentary series and they've had to do lots of sit down interviews. You haven't had to because you haven't really been part of that show. I mean, does that kind of give you a little bit of a advantage knowing that you can just buckle down and focus instead of having to worry about like, I need to film this segment before or after a race?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just goes back to my personality, and just I prefer it to be low key, and I don't enjoy uh being in the spotlight, or I that kind of stuff. I just want to
Yeah.
go about my business, run my race, and live my life. So just a different lifestyle, and I think different personalities as well.
Okay. And then just kind of one final question for you. I know obviously championship, that's your biggest focus, bringing the best car, that's, the second focus. But have you had a chance to kind of just sit back and go, I delivered wins 198, 199, and 200 for JGR? Because that's just a crazy achievement in my book.
Yeah, dude, it was so cool on Monday whenever we did the banner ceremony, and
Mhm.
seeing that I had three in a row up on the wall. And I was looking across the wall and trying to see who has the most. And I think I saw Denny had five in a row at one point. And then, just that's incredible. The fact that the 20 car with me driving has three wins in a row at the company is absolutely incredible. And, I hope I get to hang many more banners in that building.
Well, absolutely. And from what, coach has said in different press conferences, he's planning on it as well.
That makes me happy.
Awesome. Well, Christopher, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me this morning. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you out in Phoenix.
All right, you too. Thank you, John.